everybody. Today, I want to talk to you about the topic of how to destroy fear in every situation, how to take any sort of fear or something that's holding you back from doing what you know that you're supposed to do, or from doing that you know that you are called to do. So often, since we were children, if you touch a hot stove, you're not going to touch it again. That's ingrained in our minds, and our physiology and our psychology prevents us from doing things that will harm us repeatedly. In fact, it will prevent you from going after and doing what you're supposed to do to keep you safe, to keep you from hurting yourself. And that creates fear in your life, fear of doing certain things. How to destroy fear every single time. Here's the thing. Fear comes in because there's experiential truth of you did something once before, it hurt you, or sometimes it creates shame, and you try to control the situation around you by never doing that thing again or anything like it because you're afraid of the previous outcome that happened. You touch a hot stove, it burned you. You never touch it again. That control system keeps you alive. You don't step in front of a moving subway because you've seen what's happened to other people. If that happens, you don't step in front of a moving car, for instance. That type of fear is healthy. However, simple fears come in our lives. We're afraid to give a kind word to somebody because somebody laughed at us once in the past. We're afraid to speak life into somebody. We're afraid to speak truth into situations because people will come back with us and judge us by what we're saying. And we get these fear systems, these fear cycles that we go into that control us, that grip us, that end up putting a self-induced gag order on our own mouth and our own actions. And then when we're afraid, we will do everything possible to never go in that place again and avoid even going close to it. Listen, fear is not real. It's a liar. It doesn't actually exist. It is your psychology and physiology's way of keeping you safe. You can control your fear by one simple thing: taking action. Taking action and declaring the truth over the fear. So if this fear is telling you, I never do anything right, I'm not going to go into business like this because I lost money last time. So you stay small and prevent yourself from going after the thing that you're supposed to do in business, for instance. That fear is controlling you from doing what you're called to do. And when you speak truth to it, my calling is thanks, KJ. My calling is for me to go after this thing, to do this. I know that inside of me, I am called to start this business or do this podcast or speak life or speak a word to somebody, whatever that is. It's different for everybody. I don't want to prescriptionize this. You know what it is for you. There's something inside of you that I should do this, and if I do it, my life will be different, but I am afraid to because XYZ could happen to me or could happen. And I'm afraid of what the outcome would be. And the fear is greater than the pain of not taking action. And so the way it controls our lives is that the fear, it's like a blanket that we put on. And taking action is scary. We're afraid of it. The difference switches around when the pain of not taking action is greater than the fear, and you realize, I cannot live this way any longer. I cannot walk down this path of being afraid because the destiny and the calling that's inside of me, what God planted in me when I was born to do, was to go past this fear and to accomplish that thing. Listen, let me just throw an example out here for you guys. There is a lot of injustice in the world today. Child sex trafficking is one of them. It's very scary to go into places where that happens. But if your calling is to go into those areas, taking action and trusting that the God that has all the armies of angels around you will have your back, will help you walk that out and walk forward towards what you're called to do. I am not talking about selfish ambition either. I am talking about the very thing inside of you that you know is your purpose, that you were born for, and yet you have gripping fear of saying, if I do that, I will lose friends. People won't understand me. People will judge me. I might get hurt. I might get whatever that is. So-and-so might think XYZ of me, and so I'm not going to do it. A lot of times it's people's thoughts that we come up with, stuff that they never even said to us, but it fits into our fear, and we create this cage that locks our fear, our purpose in with fear, and we're wrapping fear around it. When you start to rip off those layers of fear, and then you take action, the only way to rip off layers of fear is by taking action. You can't first take the fear off and then take action. The stepping out and taking action is the action of removing the fear. Because if you're not taking the action, you're still afraid at some level. And so when you have fear, it's lying to you. It is telling you, I can't do this. I shouldn't do this. I'm afraid. I did that before and I got in trouble and I got hurt. When you know that on the other side of that fear, on the other side of that thing that you're afraid of is the breakthrough that you've been asking and praying for, that you know that you're supposed to have in your life, that you know is your purpose, that you were called for. But you're letting this false belief, I've heard fear is false evidence appearing real. It's not true. And whatever you're afraid of is not true. There are certain things, like I said, we don't we don't go and step in front of a moving car because we know that we will die. That is a healthy fear to keep you safe, okay? Totally fine. I'm not talking about that. But that same gripping fear that prevents you doing that prevents you from going after what you were made for and what you were called to do. If you know that you were called to reach out and share with people and bless them and touch them with your words, with your mouth, with what you're supposed to say. And I'm preaching to myself right here because I've had gripping fear inside of my heart that has prevented me from talking and doing videos like this. And from just letting my emotions come like this and being real to what I know I'm supposed to do, what I'm called to do in the world and why I was made. But I've had gripping fear that has said, shut up, don't say anything, you don't know anything. You haven't earned the right to speak on that, is the fear that I get. And it's a lie. And so, just this video I'm doing right now is taking action to attack that fear right there. And I'm not attacking it to hurt it or cause pain or damage, but I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you with this, that whatever that thing is that you're afraid of, whatever's in front of you that is telling you, I can't do this, or I shouldn't do this, or I'm afraid to do it. And if it's healthy, that's fine. If it's a healthy thing, that's fine. But if it's in front of your destiny and you're calling what you know that God created you for a purpose to do, you need to take action and choose, make a decision. Make a decision that the fear has no power over you. And believe the truth of what God says about you, the truth about what God says about your life, your calling, your destiny, and go after it. Go after it with all you got. You cannot let that fear control you. And taking action is where the breakthrough is. When you take action, on the other side of taking action, the breakthrough comes in. This is not one size fits all for everybody. I know this. I know that it's not always going to work out for everybody the way that I'm trying to put here. And I know your situation is unique, and I know that it's different for everybody. I know whatever you're going through right now is not what I'm going through, and vice versa. And I don't try to claim that I know what you're going through exactly. But I do know this, that whatever it is that you're afraid of that is standing in front of your destiny and calling, what you're supposed to do, your breakthrough is on the other side of you taking action and completely obliterating that fear and getting rid of it in your life. And then going around it and doing the thing that you know is a choice and a decision for you to make and take action to do what you're called to do. This has nothing to do with selfish ambition, personal goals, stuff that is self-serving, but rather, why were you made? What were you made for? What were you born for? What is the purpose of why God created you? And yet you have these fears because you're human, and because there's this war, this battle that's inside of us that says, don't do that. You'll get hurt. It hurts. People get hurt like you that try to do that. And yet that thing that's telling you that very thing is a lie. It has no power over your life, and it has no place. And when we give it power, when we focus on it, when we look at it, when we say that it does have power, when we declare, I am afraid of this thing, we are giving it power. But when we declare, I have the strength to go after what I'm called to do, don't even mention that thing you're afraid of. Don't say, because this thing I'm afraid of has no power over me. The mentioning of it in that sentence is still giving it power. To obliterate it and destroy it, you speak the absolute truth of your calling, the truth of what God says about you, the truth about your purpose, and you go after it without even paying attention to that. So for instance, you could say, I want to go to create a podcast, but I am afraid that people won't understand me, or that let's make it personally. I am afraid that my family members will tell me, who do you think you are? We know the real you. You're not that person. Whatever that is. A lot of and so giving that fear power is, you say, I'm going to do, and I'm doing what I'm called to do. Period. You don't even bring in the words of because I know it's not true that what people think about me doesn't matter. That's still giving it power when you bring that into this equation. But when you speak truth, you speak life into the fear, into the fearful situation, whatever you're afraid of, the truth of what God says about you, and you eliminate that shame. You reverse it. You remove it completely. You remove the control that's holding you back and keeping you safe. And you take action towards the very thing that you know you're called to do. Breakthrough happens at that exact moment. Have a good one, everybody. And I think I'm going to expand on this topic more in the future.